Mixtape Monday.
Exit to each other. Party on, dudes!
Party on!
Party on, Wayne!
Party on, Gar.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Mixtape Mondays. As always, I have my co-host here with me, Roman, who's sweating his face off in his garage. One who has become sort of our regular guest, both on our Mondays and Thursdays, Steven Ransom, and joining us for the first time on a live stream, my good friend, Sam Steven, who, actually, funny enough, we have kind of a Wayne's World moment from when we used to work together. Our shipping manager at this company we both used to work for had a radio plugged in, whatever, and he'd just play this and that and whatever. And, my workbench was right near that area, and Sam was coming through. And I remember Bohemian Rhapsody was on. I got up from my workbench. Sam was there, our production manager, shipping manager, and we just all like gathered around and had that full on like Wayne's World headbanging moment during the guitar solo right there. So every time I see that clip, it cracks me up. But anyways, what's that?
We all did it at the exact same time. It was awesome. Without planning it. It just happened.
Otherwise, it would have been weird.
No. Nothing weird ever happens at a banjo shop. All right, so Roman, how you doing, buddy? Are you surviving? You said it's not as hot today.
It is not as hot today. So the ball fan is still on, but it is it's not it's not sweltering out here today. So it is what it is. It's fine.
Awesome.
Nice.
All right, and then,
happy to be here.
Yeah, always good to have you. Steven, how you doing, buddy? How's your Monday going so far?
Not so bad, man. I think I slept all the way through Sunday. I was up about 36 hours, and
wow.
The sun was rising, and I was like, you know what? I think I need to take a nap. And suddenly it was almost Monday morning. So yeah, it was a long night. I was in one chat after another, just being a silly bastard. But
wow,
yeah. All sorts of drama in some of the other communities that I was hanging out in that I thought I should lend a hand to, but
you
anyhow,
mean to tell me there's drama on the internet? I refuse to believe that.
Oh my god! And it's the stupidest drama. It's like a bunch of grown men acting like 15-year-olds. It's ridiculous. I swear.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, blocking each other and calling each other out on lies and going back in history like 10 years. It's like, Jesus Christ, guys. Anyway.
Oh, it's like all the people who just discovered Metallica because of Stranger Things, and now they want to cancel Metallica.
I just watched a video about
that. It's so fucking irritating.
Oh god. So and then Sam, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I had to deal with humans today, so I needed this beer. But here we are. Now I'm home, and I'm doing fun things. So
yeah, it's gonna be a good one. And then also, since you have your beer before we get started, I gotta get mine open here. So cheers, gentlemen, to Mondays. All right, so
it's just water.
Well, I mean, even the beers that you've been buying lately are kind of water. So
I know. Here, I got to drop out for just 1 sec. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, I guess while he's off, we'll introduce the topic. Which, if you clicked on this link, you should have already seen the title: "Bands with Ridiculous Gimmicks, but are successful." I don't remember what made me think of this recently, but there's a lot of bands out there that whether I listen to them or whether I like them or not, there are just certain bands that you cannot deny that even if their gimmick is maybe laughable, even if you don't like their music, if a band can, well, I'll just bring up this one. I'm not going to say this is the first band to do it. We'll get to that in a minute. But one of the more popular, one of the more famous, obviously, when people think of a ridiculous gimmick, Kiss. I personally don't like their music. I think it's just really generic party rock. It's whatever. It's not bad, but it's just kind of like, all right. And you think, okay, these guys are dressing up in like these big platform shoes and armor and spikes and face makeup and stuff. But in that era, a lot of like the makeup and weird costumes and shit was kind of coming out to be like the thing. Now they're still around. They're doing, I don't know, like their 10th farewell tour now or something. I don't know what's going on, but they can tour the entire world and literally sell out arenas. So I can sit here and say, oh, I think that looks really ridiculous, or I don't think their music is all that great, but they're selling out arenas and I'm not. So it's like, maybe that's what kind of brainstormed this whole topic, was thinking about how much I don't like Kiss, but how it's like, well, I mean, they've had a long, successful career. And Gene Simmons is not a musician. That guy's a straight up businessman. He runs that thing like a business, and he's smart. He's very smart about it. He's always been clean and sober. It's probably how he stayed alive through all the different decades of being a rock star. But yeah, so that was kind of maybe what first sparked this idea.
Yeah, there's a statement in the chat that actually lays down some very, very courageous history right there. I'm not really sure if that's entirely true, but Thad.
Yes. First band to do that. So I guess I didn't look as much into the history of this, but I would be willing to bet that that's probably true, that they were the first band to really develop like that arena rock style. There were other,
there are other artists who did things. I mean, we're going to get to them, you know, the kind of the forerunners to this, but Kiss really brought it to the front.
Mm-hmm.
Were they the first to do, you know, the thing in general? The answer would be no. But as far as making it blow up the way they did, yeah, they were the ones that dragged it forward and made that, you know, the crazy with the I'm missing a word right now. Help me, son. Shit that catches on fire when you're on stage.
Pyrotechnics.
Thank you. God damn it.
And actually, yeah, that was another.
Say that?
And actually, that was another good point. I was over here ignoring the chat. So actually, before we go any farther, obviously, as we already pulled up, we've got Thad in the chat. Good to see you, Matt. We've got Mr. AWK joining us from the UK, staying up all night to watch us. I think that's it so far. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure we get those guys in there. But yeah, so one of the other ones I was going to bring up, which here Thad's pointing out as well, Alice Cooper said at one point he stole his entire gimmick from Kiss. Hey, Alice Cooper stole... oh, well, then I might have been wrong with my statement I was about to pull up, because I was going to say I thought Alice Cooper was kind of one of the first bands to do like the costumes and the shock rock stuff, but he didn't do it to the level that Kiss did until many decades later. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Interestingly too, definitely not in the shock rock, you know, area, but you know, more of a progressive thing, was like early Genesis definitely had a gimmick going on. I don't know if you've ever checked any of that out. I just thought of it now. I didn't think of it earlier.
I have not.
Yeah, go look up some live shows from the Peter Gabriel era of Genesis.
Oh, he was peculiar. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Sam. I'd forgotten about that shit. Yeah, he was an odd bird.
He had all these characters and a whole bunch of stage costumes. It was like, you know, it was some of the stuff that he used to dress up in was like almost like gwar level. Like these crazy.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, so definitely some strange costume stuff. There's a series out. I'm trying to find it on my other computer, which could take me between, I don't know, 7 to 15 minutes. Of it's the history of metal, and it's a very good series. Harley Dave turned us on to this. And it actually covers a lot of this material in it, you know, and we don't need to watch it right now, obviously, but it is a very good series. If you can find it, it's on YouTube, and it breaks metal down, from its infancy through the glam stage, the bizarre bullshit stuff, and American metal, British metal, and all that stuff. So if you can find it on YouTube, once I find the name, I'll blurt it out like I've made a goddamn discovery. So I'm going to mute myself and look at this while you guys are talking.
Interestingly enough, I think when did Elton John start wearing full-blown costumes on stage too? There's some vagary between Woodstock and like 1977 where a lot of guys were experimenting with that gimmick to try to spruce up the image of the show. But I have a couple in my list, at least one, I think. But
yeah, I mean that like Elton John was definitely one that came up throughout the week and kind of the discussions of that too, because at first I was really trying to think of just like rock bands and like bands that they sell at big arenas and like Kiss and stuff like that, where they have pyrotechnics and costumes and whatever. But then it's like I'm not sure it was either Roman or Sam, one of you added in the notes like Elton John, and it's like that kind of stuff too. It's like anyone that had some sort of a costume changes, wardrobe gimmicks, anything like it's and that's more as we can like dive into this topic as we go, that some of them are on the more ridiculous level of like Gwar and Slipknot, and then some other ones are bands where they just sort of have a cohesive image that like maybe it's a planned gimmick, but it looks like it passes off as being more normal looking.
Right.
Yeah.
Here, I just posted it in our chat now. Metal Evolution is the series. And like I said, when you have the time, it is definitely worth looking into. I found it fascinating. Yeah, thanks to Harley Dave for turning us on to that.
But yeah, I guess we can sort of go around the room and either name off one or a handful, whatever you guys got that you think is interesting or worth mentioning. So we'll start with you, Dad, Roman.
Okay, so now I'm of the era of Kiss, of course. But it's funny though, because a lot of like the modern, I am old, but the modern ones that you brought up were, I don't like most of these bands. And it's as far as like your heavier stuff goes, with the exception of a couple that are on your list, and I'll let you get to that stuff. But I put a band on here called Sabaton, and I showed you them before, and I don't know if I can share anything because I'm technically inept, and I'm on the wrong computer because I'm an idiot.
You are just
you're
fired.
I know. Anyway, they're a Swedish band, and they have kind of it's almost like a military-like uniform style they have on stage, and they have like war scenes on the stage, like a jeep and a cannon and just interesting looking things, and their songs are all based around that same theme. It's really cool to watch, and these fellas were doing this stuff. I wonder if I'm gonna try something here. Oh god, just bear with me. I know. I should. Am I still there? Am I gone?
You're here.
Oh, there I am. I'm back. Okay. I'm like a child
You
with a
never left.
nuclear weapon. You know that. Can I share my parts of my screen, or do I have to share the whole thing?
You should be able to share either like a specific
If it's
tab
split,
or window or
okay,
entire
let me,
screen.
I just want to, and I'm going to try to pull up just a video of the band, and then you control it as best you can so it doesn't, we don't get the thing. Tab, there we are. And my son actually knew who this band was as well, which I thought was interesting, because I'd never heard of them before. And he was like, "Dad, it's Sabaton," and I'm like, "Thanks, son. I'm an ass. I got it." Is this? I wanted, I should have done live. Oh dear God! Oh dear God!
Oh Lord!
Stop! It's talking to me. I know people are watching me, going, "Roman, for the love of God, man, pull your shit together." And I'd be like, I absolutely want to pull my shit together, but I'm simply incapable of it. So here,
and the clip library continues to grow.
And as you're sitting in your garage only drinking water, I guess you can even say this.
And that was without even a single drop of rum.
No. All right. Okay. I'm going to try this, and I have no confidence it's actually going to work. 0. So I share.
Oh Lord!
If I share.
All right, so
screen-
moving on to Sam.
That's mean spirited. No, it's gonna share the whole fucking screen. God damn it! I don't want to share the whole fucking screen. I wanna share half the screen.
Frassin.
You know what? Never mind. My choices are all fucking just moot from this point forward. I'll accept that.
I love this moment so much, I want to have sex with it.
It's not fun. It's like I'm fucking disabled. You're making fun of a disabled person at this point.
It's true. We are.
It's just
it seems
not
that
fucking
way.
Right. You know what? I'm gonna fix this. I'm gonna go on.
Well,
Talk
while
amongst yourselves. Go to a
while you're
different
fixing
thing.
that, I'm gonna get
back
caught
to this
up.
thing for a second. And if you hear, I'm gonna actually mute everything.
Well, while you're fixing that, I'm gonna get caught up on the chat real quick here. We have Tom's Tinkering and Adventures. What's up, Tom? Thanks for tuning in. He says, just saw Mudvayne, interesting group, costumes, makeup, gimmick stuff for sure. Yes, I've been a Mudvayne fan for a long time, seen them live handful of times. Dempsey here, gwar, yes. Don't you worry. We are going to talk about gwar. But I'm going to probably
talk about gwar.
I'm gonna hand that one off to Sam for sure because he has seen them live. Let's see, Iron Maiden, Giant Eddie, and Pyros. Yep, yeah. So it's like the look of the band was maybe not so much a gimmick, but their mascot definitely for sure. Rob Zombie, yes, also seen him live. He's got big giant robots walking around on stage. Which I think I have photos of that as well. Where did I put that? Yeah, so this is a Rob Zombie show where he's all into the classic horror stuff. Calls his style of music horror rock, loves old horror movies. He's got big giant robots walking around on stage and shit. Oh gosh. Baby Metal. So I've actually seen this band live, and I'm not exactly proud to admit that. They were opening for another band I was seeing, but I first heard about Baby Metal when I worked at the same company that Sam works at. I think the production manager told me about it, and he's like, just look up Baby Metal. And I looked up videos, and I was like, why? Why did you just tell me to look this up?
As an anime fan, I've been watching the evolution of heavy metal in Japan for about 15 years now. It's been slowly creeping into their own anime zeitgeist where there is so much more metal now in their anime. It's almost pushed aside some of the classic tropes of anime soundtracks. So yeah, Baby Metal and Japanese metal, it's a thing. And it's interesting to look at their interpretation. They always have interesting interpretations of things over there.
Going along with that too, it's like you can think about, even like video game music, like some of the old Mega Man games, it's music that's created via MIDI or via, just like waveforms and sequencing and stuff like that. But there's a lot of bands that have started just doing like live metal versions of like video game music, and it's very anime-esque, and it's very that kind of like the metal creeping into anime type thing. I think
that's interesting.
To do. Yeah, it's really. I mean, even some like Megadeth stuff I listen to, and like that sounds like it could be a Mega Man song, stuff like that.
All right, Roman. It looks like you got your screen working.
Yeah, I plugged in the other monitor, so now I have 57 monitors out here.
I'm afraid to see what happens when I click on this.
Well, it's probably the Roman OnlyFans site that we've talked about so much in the past.
Only Romans.
It's not good, and no one should watch it, but there it is. So I want to say hi to my friend Tom out there. Tom is one of the smartest guys I know. He's one of those cats who can literally fix everything. He's your end of the world zombie apocalypse buddy. He's that guy. So
yes.
God knows.
And I like his new topic idea.
That's every fucking show. That's not even like a new idea. That's
to
just
yourself,
the show. Other shit goes on around that. That seems to be the point of the show. Anyway.
Okay.
And Tom has also rebuilt young Jacob into the Empire's car at least 15 times. So,
Wow.
like I said, I'm just going to kind of skim through this video, hopefully, so you can. Is the audio playing? It's not, is it?
Real quick, Mr. AWK is taking off. So, hey, man, get some rest. Thanks for popping in.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for coming by, Alex. We appreciate it. He's it's in the middle of the night over in the UK. So,
yes. All right. Yeah, I'm not hearing anything.
Oh Lord, what is coming up on my screen? Okay. What the shit? Now I got some British bullshit. Fuck off. Okay, let's try this again.
When the ad's over.
Oh, is this a live video? Is this I don't even know what this is now. This is not what I was hoping it was. I thought it was going to be like a concert video, and it's not a concert video.
Nope, it's a music video.
Mother fuck. You know, this is what I get. I'm sorry. I told you I didn't sleep well, and now here we are. I'm like a child out here, just stumbling through life. Here, let me try this one. Here we go.
There we go.
Okay. And I want to try to just get some of the shots of the guys on stage. So yes, they're all doing the swaying thing. They're Swedes. This is what they do. But they are all wearing like paramilitary stuff. And get off the fucking screen. Can I get rid of this? Christ. So I'm hoping you can see the sets. That's what I'm going for here. Yes, you're very big. I don't want to play the music because then we'll immediately get a copyright strike as opposed to maybe getting copyright strike. There's the big gun you can kind of see there. It's I know.
Turn the camera around. Let's see.
There we go.
There we go.
So if you can see the front of his drum set,
it's like a big
with a fucking
cannon.
gun. There's sandbags everywhere, and this is like I said, that's just kind of the way their stage stuff is set up, and it is an interesting gimmick. I don't say it's really ridiculous. It's a bit much for me. But I mean, you can see it's a packed stadium full of freaking people.
Right.
So whatever it is, it's working. Like I said, they're all dressing in similar outfits, which is a little bit funky. But it works. It's working for them. So,
yeah,
it is what it is. So let me pause that, and then I'll take it off the screen.
And that's Sabaton?
Sabaton.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I'll have to check them out. I have not heard of them.
So yeah, my buddy Jim the Viking over on the UK site, who I'm with on Wednesdays and Saturdays, turned me on to those guys, and their music is good. It's not really my general cup of tea, but it's still cool. They got more synth than I'm generally comfortable with, but yeah, it's obviously it's working. And they were still playing live in the midst of the secret virus of unknown origins period, because they didn't shut down over there. So they got packed stadiums full of people, and you got a band just killing it. And then there's us. I'm sorry, could you put your mask on so you could come into the restroom? Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, Tom.
All right. So let's go over to Sam. See what you got to say about this.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've got a few. Like, there is kind of an odd one that I didn't really think about, and I, didn't think about it until it was like too late to add anything to the document that was sent to me to do such things. But this is one that a lot of people probably wouldn't think of, because there's not necessarily a lot of like costumes or anything like that going on. But one of them that comes to mind is like Melancholy era Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah.
Very much. I mean, because, if you look at their history, it's like in the 80s, in the late 80s when they started, they were kind of just a Cure clone. They were playing and none of that stuff was ever really officially released, but you can find it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then they kind of became this like heavier psychedelic rock thing. But when the Melancholy era came around, that was when, I mean, they talk about it openly now. They didn't say things about it back then, but they essentially kind of shifted to like playing these characters. They weren't really in costumes necessarily, but that's what they were doing. And I would say for them, like, that absolutely worked. Like, that was their most successful era that they ever had and probably ever will have, and it's continued for them until now, So that's one notable example I can think of, and that's a band that I love, that I grew up on.
Yeah, and Melancholy was definitely, I mean, in its own rights, was kind of a concept album, anyways, and like the video for Tonight and stuff. So I mean that kind of makes sense that at that point they were sort of playing characters and dressing up in costumes, and well, you can say, oh, they weren't really dressing up in costumes. Billy Corgan dresses up in costumes. He's a little bit of a weirdo.
Well, you don't really think about them when you think about gimmick bands, but the reality is it's like they shifted from this psychedelic rock thing to suddenly being like, hey, we're depressed vampires now. And they played it up. They did it.
Yeah.
They admit it now very intentionally, but back then it was just that was the thing. But yeah, I mean, obviously, the obvious one for me is going to be Gwar. I mean, I come from an interesting world because I'm a church musician who was actually legitimately influenced by Gwar as a musician and as a music lover in general. Because this is the thing. I would say Gwar almost doesn't fit into this category because you can't really say that they're like really successful. I mean,
but after however many decades of doing it, they're still able to do it.
This is my thing. It's like they've been doing it almost 40 years, and most people know who they are. So yeah, they're not selling out stadiums, but people know what Gwar is,
And I think that's why they still kind of qualify, because it's like if they were doing this and they weren't making money and the guys were still having to like go work the drive-through at McDonald's, they probably wouldn't still be doing the band. So it's like they're successful enough that they're making their living off of it. And like you said, even if nobody actually knows what their music sounds like, everyone kind of knows the name. Like you say the name Gwar and everyone's like, oh, those guys that wear the weird monster costumes. And like everyone at least kind of knows who they are.
Yeah, I've got a video.
Interesting one. Gwar is an interesting one for me too, because here's the thing. I saw them live. I saw them on I want to say arguably, but I don't think it's really arguable. It was their worst tour for their worst album. But that show was straight up amazing. I mean, I was a changed person after I left that. I was like 17 years old, right? It was an all ages Gwar show in Hollywood. And I was like, how is this happening? I don't know how this is happening, but I'm going, It's really interesting with them because it's one of these things where it's like, if you listen to their music, yeah, it's like silly and it's a satire thing, but it's really just a big art concept. It was like a filmmaker that wanted to make weird films that nobody wanted to see. And this punk band that was making music that nobody wanted to hear, except for people in the local punk scene in Richmond, Virginia. And they got together and they started doing things, and it's like Dave Brockie, rest in peace, Odorous Urungus, at one point said, hey, I want to wear these costumes that you're making to Hunter Jackson, who's the Techno Destructo character, during our show, and then open for ourselves, and it just kind of went from there. And it's just been this ongoing thing. And it's a really strange thing because if you listen to their music, it's like these guys are actually legitimately fantastic musicians. I mean, their drummer is solid. You're not going to see him on any best drummer lists, but he's up there, and
right.
I think for me, it's like I've always just appreciated the humor and the satire of it. Like they know what they're doing, and they're continuing to push it forward. And it can literally go on forever because they, if somebody in the band dies, they just put another guy in there with a new character, or if somebody moves on, they just put another person in that character's costume. So that's always been the one for me. It's sort of just like, maybe a little bit of a different definitions of success, I suppose, but
yeah.
And you could look at bands that you could look at bands like Flaming Lips too, that do sort of this. They have a large, elaborate stage show full of just all kinds of weird stuff going on all the time,
Well, and it's kind of funny, like as you just mentioned that with a band like Gwar, like you get the sense of humor, like they know what they're doing, whatever, and it just made me think of because this, like, I wouldn't necessarily say they have a gimmick. Maybe they do, but it kind of made me think of Tool a little bit, of how, like, for a long time in the 90s, before the internet was really a thing, most people didn't know what the guys looked like. I remember there were all sorts of, like, rumors and things going around of, like, where the guys were from, what they looked like, whatever. But if you've been a Tool fan for any length of time and you get it, you understand that they have a really strange sense of humor, and they mix it into their albums. They mix it into their interlude tracks, everything. But so many Tool fans are so serious and intense that they, like, don't get the humor and, like, get mad at it. And it's just, it's fun. Like the intermission track on Anima, or, you know, just stuff like that. Like the message to Harry Manback and whatever. Like, there's so many people out there that it's like don't get the humor, and it's like, do you not realize that these guys are all just like making a bunch of dick jokes disguised in like 14-minute long epic songs with
Yeah. No, and that's one of the funny things. That's one of the funniest things I always thought about Tool. I mean, I noticed it back in the day. You know, it's like when you hear the bonus track on Undertow, you know, the cries of the carrots.
The cries of the carrots.
To them, it is the Holocaust, you know. And I was like, oh, these guys aren't serious. But, you know, and that's the thing. I mean, it's like that you get into this weird area where it's like, what is a gimmick? I don't know what a gimmick, because Maynard does, you know, I mean, he's always worn.
He dresses up. Yeah.
But this is the thing. It's one of those things where it's like, the interesting thing about this topic to me is always like, where's the line where bands don't get away with it, where it's just too cheesy to actually
it doesn't work.
It's just and I think that's where, like I brought up Genesis earlier, Peter Gabriel era Genesis. I think that's an example of where it didn't work. You know, because I mean, they did it for a good number of years, and you know, Peter Gabriel had a good run in that band, but it became this thing where it was like they were more about the music, and they were like, Peter, what the hell are you doing? Like, I don't, you know.
But I think that kind of became the thing with Pink Floyd too. Somebody mentioned Pink Floyd back here in the chat, where it's like David Gilmour was all about just the music and the show. Roger Waters was all about the lyrics and the concept, and it's like people kind of didn't quite get what they were doing at the time, and then the two of them couldn't work it out. So just real quick, catching up on the chat here, we've got Blair to Blair has jumped in here, asked if we've mentioned King Diamond yet. We have not.
That's a good one.
But what is up? Thank you so much for tuning in and being here.
Indeed.
And,
How you doing, Blair to Blair?
And then, yeah, this about Maynard, I could kind of see that. Again, I wonder, like, how much of what he's doing is, like, again, kind of putting on a character for the public. But I don't know. I'll probably never meet the guy in person. I did meet the drummer from Tool, Danny Carey, once. He was cool as hell, so I'm happy with that.
I mean, if you name the song Chocolate Chip Trip, you have to be cool, right?
Oh, I wish I had that meme handy. Oh, well. Okay, so Roman, you had a video ready. What did you just pull up?
Yeah, for Gwar. So just for Sam stuff. And there's a 45% chance it'll actually play, and I won't cock it up. So
hey,
just
right.
so you can get a visual on what the guys look like.
Yeah.
Is the man-eating vagina on stage?
Probably not in this video.
This I don't know if they can put that on YouTube.
Shit. I'm amazed they can actually perform in that stuff. I mean, they got to make it so it's flexible enough to do it.
And they make it all themselves too. That's the thing. Like, this is a completely self-produced show. They do it all themselves.
God, I would just think it would be so uncomfortable. I mean, fuck, you go to Comic-Con dressed as Captain America and you come out, you know, not smelling good.
Yeah.
Much like everybody else at Comic-Con, to be fair.
When I went to their show when I was a kid, it was funny because, you know, I came home and I didn't wash any of the fake blood off of myself or anything like that. My mom woke me up for school in the morning because, it was a school night. And I was covered in this fake blood still. She thought I actually got, like, severely hurt in the mosh pit. Because I was like, you know, I was a 110-pound, 17-year-old kid, and I was smack dab in the middle of a gwar mosh pit. You know? And one of my favorite takeaways from the whole night was the fact that they had a band opening for them that was called Penis Flytrap. And I was like, of course, that's who's opening. Like, why,
Oh my
why would-
God.
we can't do it any other way. Like, I look back on it now, and it's like the band talks about that tour being their low point and that album being their worst. And it's actually, I mean, it is true looking back, but for me, I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever been a part of. You know, it was pretty cool. And I think that's what it's about too. Like, that's why people like them, just because it's like, when you get it, you get it. If you don't get it, you're probably not ever going to get it. But
Right.
Well, they are
Maybe
weird.
you do.
Looking. Some Blair to Blair mentioned the Cybertronic spree. Yeah, they are some odd looking critters.
Man, I'm kind of surprised at how many different like bands people are coming up with, many of which I haven't heard of. But I think my thinking with this topic was more of like the bigger, more well-known bands. But I feel like there's some interesting.
I sent you that list in the.
I saw that
sheet.
too. There's definitely some interesting stuff in the chat here. I'm gonna have to look up after this stream. This is, Maynard was also in Green Jello. Did they count as a Gimmicks band?
I remember them.
Probably, but I feel like they're one that didn't really last, or if they're still around, they're not really doing a whole lot. And funny enough about them though is they actually got like a copyright strike on their name and were forced to change their name to Green Jelly,
which became stupid and just not very fucking fun after that.
Yeah, it is, you know. So real quick before we get to Steven, because Roman, your band that you pulled up, you said they're Swedes. This is another one that they're a little bit of a newer band, but the band Ghost, also Swedish. Mostly it's just this guy here in the middle with the face paint, or maybe I think that's a mask. I'm not sure. He's pretty much, it's like a solo project, and he writes and records everything and hires musicians, but it's a band, whatever. But their whole gimmick is they're an interesting band. I actually came to find out about them by a former roommate of mine some years ago, where musically it sounds like you're listening to like Slaughter or like any other like hair metal band from the 80s. Like, you listen to their music and you almost feel like you're watching like one of those training montages from the Karate Kid or something. But visually they look incredibly satanic, and his whole thing is he's this like anti-pope with the upside down cross and the whatever, and it's this character that he calls Papa Emeritus. And every time they release a new album or do like a new tour cycle, they do this whole ceremony where they'll have like the clergy, the demonic clergy or whatever, come out on stage and like retire the old Papa Emeritus and then bring in the new one, and they progressively like keep getting younger and younger each time. But their stage shows are very very theatrical. Like, I would actually wonder if this guy maybe had some history in like live theater or something, because costume changes, theatrics, big stage set, like big sets. But then all the other musicians are just masked, and they're just called, I think, the Soulless Ghouls or something like that. But it's weird because you look at them and you think, okay, like this surely is like a black metal band, but no, it's like it sounds like really catchy metal from the 80s. It's really weird.
That's strange. There's a guy I know in the chats who goes by the name of Papa Cotton 4, I think, and he has this button. You know, his avatar has that guy's face. Basically, it's more skullish, but I wonder if that's where he get it. His name is Papa Cotton. So there's got to be a connection there somewhere.
Yeah, so Thad was saying Ghost kind of takes the black metal trope but plays a mainstream metal sound. Yeah, 100%. Like, for a while there, when I was still listening to a local radio station here in San Diego in the mornings when I'd be at work, they would play this band. They would play Ghost on the radio, and I'm like, is this like a Throwback Thursday? I'm like, oh no, this is a new band. Like, it sounds like just that peak, like super catchy, gets stuck in your head 80s hair metal.
It's stuck in your soul and eats it.
But I mean, again, like there's so the old roommate of mine that turned me on to these guys is like, even he said he's like I'm not really like that into their music, but he would go to their live shows because the production value and like the show was so good. So I was like, that's kind of interesting that someone will be like, yeah, like their music's okay, but I'm gonna go to the show for the show. Fair.
Huh.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like saying I'm not really into football, but the cheerleaders are exciting.
Well, I mean,
I'm not really into Satanism, but
His stage show is awesome.
and honestly, I mean, I think just about every band. I think someone actually said it. I think someone said it in the chat here. Like every band that's ever had some sort of like satanic imagery, it's always
Theme?
a gimmick. I mean, it's yeah. Here, Dempsey
it's a gimmick
said,
until it's not, and you're burning in hell, mister.
Dempsey here said, speaking of successful bands, from what I've seen and read, the entire satanic part of Slayer is all a gimmick to sell records. So I mean, I think there was a certain level of a lot of these bands in the 70s and 80s, once they started being labeled as satanic and all the parents were like trying to burn the albums and stuff, it's like they thought, well, the kids love it, so let's just roll with it and it'll make people buy t-shirts and buy records and come to our shows. And
Right.
you know,
And if their parents burn them, they'll have to buy them again.
and it just makes them want to listen to it all that much more if their parents hate it. So
Exactly.
I was actually just reading something today, kind of actually unrelated to the stream, but I just happened upon the article about how on I forget the name of the album now, but the Dio album that Holy Diver was on, they actually did purposely put one of those like backwards messages at the end of the last track, because they were getting all this flack for being a satanic band. So they were like, oh, like, well, let's just give it to them. Like, let's actually do it. So as the last song is fading out, if you played the record backwards, it actually had some satanic message in there, because that was like all the rage back then. All right, and then on to Steven Ransom. What do you got for us, buddy?
If you take a look in the DM, the group DM, I've got a bunch of stuff. We could go right down that list.
Oh,
I think there's a couple of interruptions in there. I'm looking at it right now. I think, FFSI just dropped in one, but I think I have a pretty clear streak. The rest of them are all mine.
Here. Oh, okay, yeah. So I saw a handful of these already before. Did you even mean to put in Blues Brothers as being a gimmick?
I did mean to put in the Blues Brothers because I think
it was the beast.
I think not all gimmicks are heavy metal.
Yeah,
I find it interesting that I didn't even remember that the first appearance of the Blues Brothers were in bee costumes. So
cocaine's a hell of a drug.
It is, and SNL is a hell of a downer. So whatever. But no, a chaser. Yeah. SNL is a great chaser.
Oh man, but I mean, yeah, it is funny too. Like some people forget that was like an SNL bit, but I absolutely love that movie though. And then of course, who could forget about the great David Bowie?
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, he wasn't really known as David Bowie. He was known. David Bowie was a member of the Velvet Underground originally. And that was a band that was assembled one person at a time by Andy Warhol to experiment with live performance and music. And David Bowie and Lou, I'm going to say Lou Grant, but that's not who I'm talking about. Lou Reed also came out of that group. But Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars was a gimmick. He performed as Ziggy and was in character during those performances. He claimed to be from another world. It's actually how David Bowie landed the role for The Man Who Fell to Earth, was because of Ziggy Stardust. So, yeah. So that was also a gimmick.
Nice.
Next one after that is
ZZ Top in here, but it's just a GIF, so I can't make it full screen, I guess.
Right. I just wanted to the long beards and those spinning guitars were a great contributor to the imagery of MTV.
Yeah. Well, and I even remember when they did this, when they were in Back to the Future 3. The scene where they're in the Wild West, whatever, and they're playing, and they're all up there with their like acoustic instruments, but they still did the spinning guitar thing. Like,
yep.
The director
which made it a gimmick.
the director later admitted that like the only reason he put them in that movie was he just wanted an excuse to meet his favorite band.
Right. I think I remember hearing that. It's so funny. Yeah, it's ironic that the scene they appear in, another gimmick comes into play in that same sequence, and that's the frisbee and the origins of the frisbee. So
Yeah.
the spinning guitars is a gimmick without a doubt. I mean, there's no doubt
Well,
about
and
that.
the fact that they were like all like pink and fuzzy and
Right. You could skip the next one, Living Color. I don't think that that's as relevant as the following one that I put up there.
Okay.
This is by far, this is definitely a gimmick that made this band even happen. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So here's the funny thing about this band is I remember when they first hit the scene and they had that hit. I think it was called Clint Eastwood was their first like big song that came out, and you know, it was that thing for a long time of, oh, they're this cartoon band and it's rotating musicians and they play behind a screen, whatever. The day that somebody pointed out to me that it was basically a brainchild of the singer from the band Blur, which really the only big hit they had was that 2-minute long song number 2. They're like, oh yeah, it's the guy from Blur. And I was like, oh no, you're crazy. What are you talking about? And I listened to songs back to back and went, oh my God, how did I not notice that? Because it's really obvious once you know.
Right. Yeah, the magic of voiceover.
They also ended up having was it Mick Jones or Paul Simeon? They had a member of the Clash in their lineup in one of their later Plastic Days, Plastic Seas, Plastic something. But yeah, I just found it interesting just the way they did bring in other musicians for this very unique group.
Yeah, you know, with a gimmick like this, you could literally rotate in any band member from any time period, and they will not have aged because the character is 2D. So this is a very, very interesting gimmick, and one of the flags I roll up the old flagpole regarding animation is anybody playing a particular character can literally play it for 50, 60, 70 years as long as they can continue to voice the part.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing with Gwar too, about like, you know, the continuance of the characters and stuff. It's like they kind of have a rule where if one of the members of the band dies while they're a certain character, that character gets retired. But if somebody just leaves or gets fired, they keep the character and rotate new people in. It's kind of
that's a really interesting idea too.
Oh, yeah. It was Mick Jones. I'm sorry, it was Mick Jones from the Clash. Just to get my
I feel like even to a certain degree, haven't they kind of done that with Kiss? Like there's like members have come and gone in Kiss.
Yeah, it's
but
the drummer has been changed out several times, and not Peter Frampton. Jesus,
Peter Criss.
No, the other guy, Ace Frehley. He has kind of come and gone. I think he came back, actually, am I wrong? But the two staples of the band have always been Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. But for a long time, though, it was the four of them. And then Peter Criss was the first to go off. And they replaced him with someone who was like a fox person, because Peter Criss is supposed to be a cat person. I know. But it was, whatever. And they did and then they did their Unmasked album, which was like a big freaking shock to everyone.
Well, because I guess because
it was a gimmick.
Wanted to
that
see.
Became a gimmick. Like them going out without
Blair to Blair with Weird Al, the king of all the gimmicks. I cannot imagine how many costume changes that guy's live shows probably have.
Eric Fox, thank you, Blair to Blair.
Yeah. I was going to bring him up actually, but I thought that comedy wasn't necessarily a gimmick, but
no, that's
he
totally
lampoons
a gimmick.
everything.
So that's his whole act as a gimmick. Yeah.
Well, so it's funny. He's going back to talking about Tool fans being too serious and too intense. So Maynard has always wanted to blend comedy with music, but I think he quickly picked up on the fact that Tool fans are a special breed. But once in the 90s, Tool took Tenacious D on tour with them. And this was at a time when Jack Black was acting, but he wasn't really like well known yet. And then Tenacious D as a band was just starting out. But the guys in Tool liked him and they brought him on tour. The crowd was throwing things at them because they didn't think it was funny or they didn't like it or they didn't get it. It's like, holy shit, man, be more serious. Like, let's see here. Dempsey says the new Static X has an unknown singer because Wayne Static died. It is an homage to him, so they kept the new singer's ID secret. Yes, I actually have seen this lineup live twice, as I've also seen the original lineup of Static X live a handful of times as well. And it was kind of cool. At first, it felt like kind of a weird thing to be like, oh, they're going to tour with a new singer, but it did actually kind of work. I actually really enjoyed the show. It was pretty cool.
I'm not familiar with them. I've never heard of them.
They came around in the late 90s, early 2000s, sort of a like industrial metal. Just the singer, like he had like shoulder length hair that he would like spike straight up and then had a really long beard. So I think when they initially hit the scene, they didn't really have that much of a gimmick. I think what Dempsey is pointing out is that guy passed away some years ago.
Okay.
And the band reunited with a new mystery singer that they won't reveal his identity, where now he like wears a mask and spikes his hair up and nobody knows who it is. It's the guy from the band Dope. But nobody knows who it is. It's Edsel Dope.
Nice.
Remember Buckethead? Is he even still around?
Oh yeah.
That dude.
He's another one that it's like I would borderline on using the term successful because like he's still doing it, but it's like to what degree is he doing it? I don't really know.
I mean, he's played with Guns N' Roses and Les Claypool, so
that's fair. That's true.
Two things come to mind actually with costumes and makeup. You can do things that'll keep an idea alive forever. The one particular thing that comes to mind is the Blue Man Group. Now that they aren't musicians necessarily, but I think they have like 3 or 4 separate crews all in the Blue Man Group image, but none of them are the originals anymore.
All you got to do is either shave your head or throw on a bald cap and paint yourself blue and do whatever.
Yeah, I think it's actually like some sort of a latex appliance for the whole head or something.
Well, and even the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, when they tour, because they tend to, not always, I think they do some tours throughout the year a little bit, but because their big main thing is Christmas time, you can only play so many cities at Christmas time. They have different lineups of musicians of like the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, East Coast, West Coast, whatever. Like there's different lineups of musicians depending on what cities they're playing.
Suppose you're a big, fan of the triangle player, though. You're gonna feel duped.
Yeah.
But oh man, like they don't have that one guy. But then they usually also partner up with whatever like locals. Like when they play here, like they'll bring in members from the like San Diego Symphony to also join them on stage. So they bring in local musicians each tour stop as well.
All I can think of when I hear about Blue Man Group is Arrested Development when Tobias is like,
I was thinking exactly the same
thing. It's funny.
Oh man, I wish I had a picture ready for that one. Blair to Blair, Alice Cooper and Marilyn Manson for the ghoulish horror thing. Yep, absolutely. Those are definitely some pioneers there. So one that I don't think we mentioned yet, or maybe I briefly mentioned, Rammstein.
Even I know about these guys.
Yeah. So again, it's like their image is kind of each person kind of looks like whatever. Like they're sort of dressed in what's like maybe almost a costume, but not as elaborate as maybe some of the other bands we've talked about. But Rammstein and pyrotechnics are like go hand in hand. Just like that's what you go to their shows for. And I don't know how they haven't burned down some of these arenas that they've played in. Another one they typically do is when they play their title track, Rammstein, the singer wears a metal coat that lights on fire while he's singing. Other songs include bits where he's wearing a flamethrower attached to his face that shoots out like a 50-foot flame from his face.
What What kind of insurance do they have to have for that? It's got to be substantial.
Well, there's
As an older
some
man, that's where my mind goes immediately to this kind of thing.
there's actually these guys are actually probably about your age, Roman. They're probably the same age as you, honestly. They've been doing this since the
111
90s.
years old. That's a hell of an age to be setting yourself on fire.
Well, you know.
Today is my 111th birthday. I don't know half of you half as well as I should like, and I like less than half of you half as well as you deserve.
That's the one you have on standby. You have that on standby.
That was actual footage from Roman's birthday just a few weeks ago.
I thought that was him backstage a few seconds ago talking about all these heavy metal bands.
Yeah.
But no, there's actually some funny stories about Rammstein in their early days where their singer is now actually like certified in pyrotechnics, because early on when they were doing it all themselves, they suffered some pretty severe injuries and burns, as I'm sure you can imagine when you're doing your own pyrotechnics on a low budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, there must be
brought up yet.
lax regulations on pyrotechnics in that country where they find their origin. Because if you think about some of the things that are restricted on stage these days, it's amazing. It's amazing to me.
I mean, they do it in the States too, though. I think it's finally happening next month. Rammstein they're doing an arena tour in the States, and they're going to play at the Coliseum in Los Angeles.
Are they going to be wearing masks? Oh, come on. That was a little bit funny. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Where's your mask?
So initially, I bought tickets to go to this show before the Virus of Unknown Origins came out. And then the more the show kept getting postponed and pushed back and postponed, I just asked for a refund, and I said, screw it, I'm not going to go. So I originally had tickets to go see Rammstein at the Los Angeles Coliseum, but then I was like, they keep pushing it back year after year after year. I'm like, I don't even know if I'm still going to live in the state by the time this concert happens at this point. Like,
excellent point.
Yeah, but here Dempsey asked if we mentioned Slipknot. We hadn't mentioned them yet, but for honorable mention, there they are. And again, they're an interesting one where they change their masks and their visuals with every album. So like every time they do a new album cycle, it's kind of that thing of, what are the new masks going to look like? And what, which they used to make their masks on their own. Now I think they go to like professional mask makers.
It's interesting with Slipknot because some of their fans, like I have a friend who actually, he was really, really upset when they actually started revealing their real identities and actually, showing their faces and doing interviews and stuff like as just the people that they are. So it's weird because that's one of those weird ones that's on the border. It's like, well, is it? I don't know. Is it a gimmick or is it not a gimmick? Like I would say it is, just because I think that Slipknot could have succeeded on just their music alone if they hadn't done that. I think they could have done it because at the time that was a pretty unique thing that they were doing, their sound.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's like without that striking visual, I don't know that they would have made it. So I think for me, that's sort of part of a gimmick. That's a gimmick,
I think it got people talking about them more than it wouldn't have, because they're like, you see these weird guys in jumpsuits and masks and whatever. So it's like whether their music would have been successful or not. I think that it's that like age old phrase of like any publicity is good publicity. So if like people are talking about you and they say, like look at these bunch of weirdos and they all look so stupid and blah blah blah, but people are talking about them.
Here's an interesting thing about Slipknot too. I've had conversations with fellow musicians, like metal musicians, that won't give Slipknot a chance because they're like, it's a gimmicky thing. It's like
they think it's too ridiculous. Yeah.
And I keep telling people, I'm like, no, because I love Slipknot. They're one of my favorite bands. But I'm like, dude, go listen to it. Like, and I don't know. I didn't pick up on them when their first album came out. I locked onto them when Iowa came out. Because I was in a band with a drummer who was really into them, and he showed that to me. And I knew who they were, but admittedly I had written them off because the mask thing was like,
Right.
I'm like, oh, I got turned off by it initially. So I get that part of it. But once I listened to it, I was like, oh, this.
Well, and I think once some of their side projects started coming up, like I know there's the whole back and forth of like Stone Sour was around and Corey Taylor left and back and forth. But for all intents and purposes, we'll just say that once Stone Sour started becoming popular and Slipknot singer Corey Taylor was like showing his face and like being out there being a front man of just a regular rock band, I think he started to showcase his vocal talents a little more as well. And also, there's one it's floating out there on the interwebs now where there was a compilation album that was done in tribute of Ronnie James Dio, and Corey Taylor sang Rainbow in the Dark. And I mean, if you want to sit here and say that, oh, this guy's a hack, he's a joke, he's whatever, it's like, go listen to Corey Taylor singing a Ronnie James Dio song and then tell me he's not a talented vocalist. Like, he found a niche, he found a gimmick, and like
all the guys in Slipknot are, I mean, they're top tier in my opinion. Like it's really interesting because Stone Sour was around before Slipknot was.
Right.
But and that's actually, and a lot like Jim Root came from that band as well. Jim Root is one of my favorite all-time guitar players too. I mean, the stuff that he contributes to, and that was my thing too. It's like once I got past the whole mask thing, and I hate that I actually did that because I'm never that guy. but I did,
The guy who went to a Gwar show.
Yeah, right. No, but that's what yeah, exactly. And so, I'm a hypocrite there, I suppose. But here's the thing. It was like a drummer that I played with for years and respected highly as a musician. And this guy was older too. I mean, this guy was his heyday was in the early 80s. So he he's an older guy, and he was probably in his late 50s at the time that he was like, hey, check this band out, Slipknot, So that's a weird one too. It's like, I don't think they were successful because of their gimmick. I think they caught attention because of their gimmick largely.
Right.
But their music was good enough to carry their career through to now. I mean, they've been around a long time now.
Yeah. And that's it is funny to think too. Like I remember back when the first time somebody introduced me to their music, and same thing, I kind of had that same thought of like, I don't know, like the image is kind of weird, like this is kind of ridiculous, whatever. But now their like traveling Knot Fest has basically replaced Ozfest. Like Ozfest doesn't happen anymore, but now their festival, Knot Fest, takes place on all the same festival grounds that used to host Ozfest. So it's like they just came up with their own festival that now like replaced one of the most successful metal festivals, like recurring. Blair to Blair's got a hot take here. Sometimes all girl bands are called a gimmick unfairly. Also having just one girl in the band, Bangles, Vixen, Go-Go's, L7. Then think about Smashing Pumpkins, White Zombie. Yeah, I mean, you could think of bands like Evanescence and other ones that are either like female-led or even just have a female member.
The best gimmick when she killed Kurt Cobain.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
For anyone wondering about more for anyone wanting more information on that topic, go watch the documentary Soaked in Bleach.
Allegedly.
You notice that you notice that the surviving members of Nirvana have always just really stayed out of that. They haven't commented one way or the other. No, we don't want the publicity.
It's interesting that the Go-Go's were brought up because that's another band that I've loved for a long time. Odd as it seems, some people are surprised by that. But
I'm surprised when anybody likes the Go-Go's, to be fair. So
I mean, I love them. I've seen them live and they're awesome. I mean, they have punk origins too. They kind of ended up in this weird pop world. But, Belinda Carlisle played in the Germs with Pat Smear, and they've been friends for years. And even on her, I mean, she played drums. And even on some of her solo records, there's like Pat Smear's on there. And I mean, he's a punk legend. So it's like a weird thing. I think they get labeled as a gimmick because it was an all-girl band, and it was sort of like Oh, there we go. I blew myself. It's a good callback. But yeah, I mean, I think that bands like the Go-Go's do get erroneously labeled as gimmicks because it's an all-girl band, but they were really successful. It wasn't a gimmick; they just were a band, you know.
Right. Yeah.
Well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
Of course.
The girl band that was a gimmick genuinely was the Spice Girls. I mean, that was a bona fide gimmick. They were named.
That was like their answer
Whoa,
to all the
whoa,
90s
whoa,
boy bands.
Whoa. Tell me what you want, what you really, really want. Huh?
I mean, you know, haven't they given us everything?
No, man. Shit, no, man. I believe you get your ass kicked saying something like that, man.
This is really taking a turn.
It's a good turn.
Let me lay this one on you then. How are the motherfucking Spice Girls, huh? Haven't the boys brought the Spice Girls back into the forefront?
Yeah. Now, here's the thing, though. Has anyone seen the Spice Girls movie, the Spice World movie back in the day?
I
think I may have seen a bit of it.
How am I supposed to respond to that?
It's so stupid, but it's legitimately funny because it's so stupid. And Meatloaf is in that movie, and he plays their bus driver. And there's a scene. This is the best part of the whole movie. There's a scene where Meatloaf, like their toilets break down on the bus, and he's arguing with the manager. You know, the manager's like, he's like, "Isn't there something you can do?" And Meatloaf's like what? And he goes, like, I don't know, fix them. And Meatloaf goes, listen, I love these girls, and I'll do anything for them, but I won't do that. And Roger Moore's
lyrical battles. Lyric battles are the best.
Oh, well, if you want to be my lover, first, no, I'm sorry. John's face is so good right now.
Anyways, it's been great having Roman on the show, and
like, I don't know, man, what kind of friends you got? Where's this going?
Yeah, this is a good stream. This is a good one. This is a classic now. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen John blush. I mean, he's blushing genuinely right now. I can see his face completely blushing.
Lord,
he's gonna clip the shit out of this show. I'll tell you that.
And that's all I have to say about that.
Carry on without me.
Talk amongst yourselves.
Leave me behind. Save yourself.
I think we broke Roman.
Roman, your only way out of this is to suddenly cry, "Go to the chopper! Hurry, go to the chopper! Leave me! Go!
Oh, Lord.
It's made by aliens!"
Man.
All right, Roman? You good?
That's a very loaded question, so I shan't actually answer it, but wow, that was terrible. I don't even know what happened there.
The show. And save that clip.
Yes. Won't be the first time, I suspect, or nor the last. Oh wow, man! I need a the ball camera's not the ball camera's not or the ball camera. We don't have one of those.
Well, okay, and it's been good having Roman. Oh my god, you're so fired. I got something down here that says add to stream. This better not be your ball cam.
I'm sorry, everyone. I apologize.
Only Roman's
fan, not Cam. Such a big difference. Oh,
onlyromans.com.
Yeah, onlyromans.com. So, anyway, back to remotely the topic at hand.
Lord.
The entire look, large. I don't even know if I can fucking recover from this at this point. Maybe I'm just hanging up.
Let's talk about Devo.
Oh
yeah, there's a one to talk about. Jeez, Devo, Christ.
So the look of the punk rock movement was gimmicky, and you can call it counterculture, whatever kind of bullshit, but it was kind of just gimmicky. And because a lot of other, a lot of the modern punk rock movement, and when I say modern, I'm still like in the 80s or whatever, didn't really go necessarily this far. They looked like regular folk, played punk rock music, but they didn't have the other going on. I mean, I had the Sid Vicious hair in high school, but that was like a whole nother thing. Oops, sorry, not that one.
You just blew yourself.
That one. But then you got this. The Delightful Creature of Marilyn Manson, which I mean, he kind of took, and I think we saw it earlier in the chat. He took the whole Alice Cooper deal and turned it up to 11. And fuck off, Mike. So
yeah, that's how everybody was talking about it in the 90s when he came out. I remember because it was like, oh, it's like Alice Cooper of now, which, to be honest, it was kind of weird because it's like, oh, it was not much more than 20 years after that, which doesn't seem like that much time after. But as a,
different
for me,
music stylings, because Alice Cooper was more rock. I always considered him just rock with a gimmick.
Yeah.
Whereas Marilyn Manson definitely had a harder edge to it. But anyway,
definitely pushed the limits.
He did. Much like this stream is doing. So.
But it's all good. It's all good, man. It's called entertainment, Roman. It's called entertainment.
Ooh, buddy.
These are facts.
No, those moments are what we all live for, man. You just made YouTube history on the channel.
I don't know. We don't have any bots in this week, though. That's when you like.
No,
really
not yet. I'm kind of surprised. I mean, you would think the
last Monday was my first
time.
time. Last Monday was my first time having bots in the chat. I was like, I've arrived. I've got sex bots in the chat.
If you scrub through any YouTube clips, you'll get bots. It's guaranteed. It's just part of the gimmick. I don't know what the deal is, but I've been watching for a long time trying to figure out where they come from and how they're triggered. But yeah, that and a lot of emojis in the chat will also bring them, depending upon what StreamYard settings you have. Yeah. Those are just my speculations. But
I get a lot of that on my Instagram. Like anytime I post a picture of myself with a guitar or something like that, like I get these weird. It's always like, "Don't look at my story," like, I like your face. Let's collab. It's like, what is this? It used to be like I would get one or two of those, and then most of them were my friends, my actual real life friends. But now it's like I don't even want to post on Instagram anymore because that's all it is now. It's stupid.
Yeah, I used to belong to this one app that I wound up having to abandon because it was literally like everybody who was trying to friend me on this app was looking for a manly handshake.
Yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? Hey, you're cute. I like what you talk about. I'm like, get out of here.
I like the way your mouth works.
Oh my God. It was just, like, there's an app for that, you numbskulls. Geez, it's called Hookups, I think, or something like that. Jeez. Whatever.
Manly handshake.
Roman, what are you sharing now?
What? This is going to be the gimmick for like our band when we finally get together and do it. It's going to be Dead Muppets.
Dead.
What?
Right. I'm surprised there hasn't been a Muppet band. Why hasn't there been a Muppet band?
I'm trying to think. I guess I don't think there has been.
I need to talk to Snow.
And this is the old worn out Kermit that you actually physically have in your house.
Yeah, this exists. This is in my house.
That thing is going to come to life in the middle of the night and murder you someday.
No, I keep expecting to see it sitting down at the bottom of the bed, just kind of like, hello there. I am Kermit the Frog. I'm going to take your phone now. Hi-ho. And that's it. Sorry, that was my bad Kermit voice. I apologize.
I mean, it's not easy being green.
Yeah.
Hey, Blair to Blair brings up. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Sam. Go ahead.
We'll take the dead puppet off.
I was just gonna say we have a gimmick in the Deering Banjos showroom. We have a Kermit that always has a giant stuffed Kermit with a banjo in his hands all the time.
At least it's just in his hands.
Yeah. Sometimes people position it in different ways. It is what it is.
Steve Martin is a hell of a banjo player.
Yes,
he is. I've actually seen him live and built banjos for him.
I was going to say, John's made banjos for him before.
I have.
But I wanted to bring up Blair to Blair's comment in the chat, whether or not family bands are a gimmick. He brings up the Osmonds, but there's been the Brady Bunch, there's been the Partridge
Jackson
Family. 5. Yeah, the Jackson 5.
Oh, the fucking monkeys.
I wonder. Yeah, well, the monkeys are artificial.
But still gimmicky, I think.
Yeah, they were on the gimmick of the Beatles.
I mean, I think it's a similar, not same kind of creature when we talk about the Osmond and the Brady Bunch, the Osmonds and the Brady Bunch, or the Partridge Family, not the Brady Bunch, kind of thing. It's not something that I find particularly appealing, but I don't find a lot of these gimmicks particularly appealing. So,
right? Yeah. I'm not passing judgment on any of these. I don't have a strong heart for a lot of heavy metal. But I recognize the theatrics of it. I mean, I can recognize.
Well, and their ends, the end part of this is and are successful, and they are. And whatever
exactly.
I think about it, they made a living doing it and didn't have to go, bust their ass all, for 12 hours a day.
At the end of the day, all I know is that these people are making their primary paycheck off of music, and I'm not. So.
Right. Allegedly,
and then
making their primary paycheck.
Well, no, it's my side hustle. So Dempsey brings up, I've actually heard of this band before, the Oakley Dokley. They all
Here, I'll find them while you're doing anything.
No, I got it. I'm pulling it up right now.
You got it? Okay.
They all dress like Ned Flanders, and they write songs that are like Simpsons references. There we go. So this is a song called White Wine Spritzer.
Yeah.
It's just
fuck.
They're all come on. There we go. So they're all dressed like Ned
hilarious.
Flanders, but they play like heavy metal music.
Oh my god. That's great.
It's the mustaches for me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna actually have to check this out and listen to them when we aren't gonna get copyright struck. They look hilarious.
White wine spritzer.
Oh my, homie.
Yeah, it's pretty violent. Oh, yeah.
That's
a good one, Dempsey. I've heard of them before.
That just reminded me of the scene on Office Space where they're beating up the copier. When he throws the bat and starts punching it.
Back up in your ass with the resurrection.
I think an interesting historical point in all of this is that MTV really changed the dynamics of what visuals were important.
Yeah.
Having a gimmick where it had to go way beyond. If you think about the Dire Straits video that was done with computer graphics, that was a gimmick that made that song popular. People watched it over and over again.
Yeah.
Which, funny enough, going back to someone in the chat that brought up Weird Al, I cannot hear that song or see that video without thinking of the Weird Al Yankovic version, Beverly Hillbillies.
Beverly Hillbillies, yeah.
It was in his movie UHF, and he did the video and everything, but instead of Money for Nothing, it was Beverly Hillbillies. Look it up.
So, yeah, someone in the chat brings up Steven Seagal's, which I think at least John and I are familiar with those guys. I've met that banjo player. That banjo player came into the. What's that?
No, go ahead.
No, that banjo player from Steven Seagal's came into the shop one time, and it was, just taking the tour of the shop, and he just to see if they, wanted to use our banjos and stuff, and that was pretty cool. I was bummed that I didn't get to go to the show though.
Oh.
But yeah, that's the thing with them. It's that they're using bluegrass instruments and doing covers of like rock and metal songs.
Metallica, AC/DC. There's
Village.
this other band that's been popping up on my Spotify lately. I think they're called like Green Sky Bluegrass, and they've done covers of a couple of Pink Floyd songs, which are interesting too. Because like the song comes on and it's just bluegrass with the fast banjo and whatever, and all of a sudden I'm like, wait, I know these lyrics.
I don't know a ton of banjo music. Just I mean, bands like Mumford and Sons, and then occasionally Flogging Molly will throw it out there. But by and large, it's not my Dropkick Murphys.
Gimmick bands, and I haven't heard anyone.
Mother of God,
Dempsey,
you know what? You're right. You are 100% right. I feel bad now for leaving them out. I just, quite honestly, there was no room for them up here.
Wait,
it's just so
leaving
much.
them out. I thought they were out. I mean, they were out. Like,
oh.
See what you did there. Remember that scene in Wayne's World 2 when they're in like the gay bar and and they're like on that, they're trying to spy on Cassandra, and then they have to pretend they're the village people up on stage at the gay bar. That's a great scene right there.
I have to admit, I don't have a lot of memories of Wayne's World 2 because the second movie was still funny, but I default to the first one pretty much. Anytime I want to
watch it again though. There's a lot of good jokes in there.
There's some good moments.
But it's not as good as the first one.
Yeah.
Right. The fight scene between Wayne and Cassandra's dad is
it's all dubbed in like a bad kung fu movie.
Anyway,
so just a thought. Can Jethro Tull's flute be considered a gimmick?
I think it should be considered a crime weapon, a weapon of. It's not good. I think that thing should be put in some kind of museum of the horrors.
I think there's an entire history of musical patronage that would disagree with you, Roman. But
well, they're also.
wrong.
Roman's taking the "you're entitled to your wrong opinion" stance.
Well, he's preparing for Thursday, I think. He's preparing.
I'm anti-flute, and I want it noted right now. I will die on the anti-flute hill, and I'm okay.
I'm right there with Roman. I'm not a fan of their music, but I think.
But what about that one time at band camp?
I think the level of how much I dislike Jethro Tull elevated at my previous shop that I was working at. So I worked with a bunch of old guys. They had like an old scroll wheel iPod hooked up to a speaker, and these guys would come in and they'd come in and like fight over the music. Whenever when they put something on, the playlists had the same songs in the playlist multiple times. So when they would put on Jethro Tull, it just felt like we were listening to the same song on repeat for like an hour. And I'm like, wow, I didn't like this band already, and now I like really want to murder people.
Aqualung,
with a flute.
That one with his like 10-minute long flute solo, and I'm like, nobody needs this. No one asked for this.
And you didn't even get a Ron Burgundy with it.
Jaws flute.
Oh my goodness. This is a wind versus strings argument, isn't it?
Oh my Lord!
Nobody wants to see a man blowing on a rod.
Company, that shop is also why I hate Cat Stevens, why I hate Fleetwood Mac.
Well, you can go your own way, buddy.
Please tell me someone else caught that.
Well, I think this is about where our stream has
died.
This is about where we're at in the stream now.
That was my hair. Damn, we're in a tight spot.
That's about where we are now.
We're in a fun spot, is where we are.
Oh,
hey-o. And Roman is sweating. Okay,
that's fantastic. That's why I don't appear on camera. My head is always the same shine on camera with my avatar.
maybe
I'm sweating too.
Roman.
You try and you try. The ball cam only fan. Fuck.
Yep, Flaccid has got you talking about that fan now. That's it. It's like a big deal now. It's one of the characters on the show now. I swear.
It's not
great.
a good character. You know what? I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to send it to you.
There you go. That's what we need. We need a
Flaccid.
fan cam. Fan cam.
Fan cam.
It's not nearly as exciting as you think it is. Here, I'm going to send it to myself so I can post it.
So I'm getting the impression that that Roman is allowed to never be wrong on the show because he's always wrong in his own house.
What would give you that impression? If you've been talking to Mrs. of the Empire, don't talk to her. You can't trust her.
What did Mrs. of the Empire yell at you the other day when you were complaining about that new Marvel show?
Oh yeah, so we're in the kitchen, and in the morning in the kitchen of the Empire. And I was complaining about the She-Hulk, and Mrs. of the Empire is like, "No one cares about Hulk woman," and I'm like, "All right, sweetie, I got it. I understand." And I'm sorry,
bitching about it for a week.
I was. That's all she's. All right, here's the. All right, I'm going to share it now.
Oh no!
It's not exciting. You're gonna think it's exciting, but it's not. Like you've seen it, so it's not like it's a big thing for you.
Whoa! Don't drag me into this.
There, that's it.
Oh boy, that's the ball cam.
That's the ball.
Roman's biggest fan.
That's it. Pointed directly at my nether region.
That's right, like any good groupie should be.
Is that what your OnlyFans account is all about?
The Roman's OnlyFans is sadly not as exciting as you think.
So Dempsey brings up an interesting point. So actually, funny enough, you might not actually know this because it's not currently 1997, but Limp Bizkit actually is still releasing music and touring, and their guitarist Wes Borland continues to dress up in more and more elaborate costumes and face paint, even probably more so than he did back in the 90s. He like really put some like top-notch effort into this shit now. See if I can find a recent picture, because back in the day, like he just did like some face paint. He did like a weird bunny suit,
as opposed to the regular bunny suit.
Yeah, it's weird.
You know what? There is no Easter bunny. Over there is just a guy in a suit.
Solid reference. There we go. So that's a more recent get up. He's got like a necklace made up of like bones and teeth or whatever, like a mask, face paint, wig, costume. Like it's just all around weird.
Oh fuck! It's like track shorts.
Mallrats for the win. Dempsey got it.
That's peculiar. Bye.
Yeah, it's strange. So, anyways, I think we've kind of run the course on the topic and fully embarrassed
run on this topic and others.
We've gotten a look at Roman's ball cam, so
nice.
That's fun. It's great.
I'll have to meme that.
Definitely.
If you
definitely going to be some
donations,
fun clips out of this. Definitely going to be some fun clips out of this one. So, coming home from work, I had the idea of trying to do like what Zach's did, where we try to plug our stuff at the beginning because we probably lose viewers at the end. I got sidetracked and I forgot, but let's go ahead and do our usual thing and kind of go around and plug anything we have going on. Roman, what do you got going on this week?
All right. Well, thanks, pal. So Thursday, you're playing hooky. So
yeah, I won't be on this Thursday.
Of course, Prophet of the Dragon and Shield Wall of Dragons, and we're going to be doing a bit we're going to call the Contrary View. Popular movies everybody loves that we hate. So that should be a lot of fun.
Pulp Fiction.
Shut the fuck up, John. That's what you need to do. Just shut the fuck up. You're out of your depth, John. So,
yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
So we got that going on. Saturday, I'll be on with PJ maybe at noon PST. That's just let's talk geeky. It's the free range classic TV and movie show. And I think that's it. And then maybe on with the Nerd Father on Friday at noon PST, just depending on what's going on. But that's it for me right now. Oh,
All
I'm
right.
lying. I 100% fucking lied. She-Hulk.
You're fired.
She-Hulk. I know. There'll be a She-Hulk review out Thursday morning because I get up early and torture myself with that, and then I torture you with it.
Actually, you're
Nice.
helping me not have to watch the series.
I like to hope I'm helping a lot of people not watch the series.
Oh Lord! Just based on your review of episode 1, I'm like, there's not even like an ounce of my brain that is like, oh, I kind of want to go watch that show now.
Right.
No,
yeah.
no.
You're doing God's work by.
I did drop a Game of Thrones, or no, I'm sorry, a House of the Dragon
House of the Dragon.
review this morning, and it was an okay show compared to She-Hulk. It's a fucking masterpiece. So it's okay right now. It's okay. I'm not saying don't watch it. Watch it because you might actually enjoy it more than I did. I thought it was okay. So,
That's probably on a streaming service I don't have though.
HBO Max.
Nope, I do not have that.
Not only Roman.
Oh well. Anyways, you're doing God's work, keeping the rest of the world from having to watch She-Hulk. So, Godspeed, sir, on that one. Steven, what do you got going on?
Roman and I are doing a thing on Thursday, and I'm still. I might be joining a stream to discuss this new Dragon Ball Z Ultimate edit, which is a spoof edit. I was never really into the show, and I don't really enjoy spoofing, so it should be an interesting thing for me to join. I will be there for contrary conversation, I guess. So we'll see how that goes. I'll be updating everybody. I'll probably post in Twitter when that actually starts appearing as a scheduled live event. So,
Well, all right, should be interesting. And then last but not least, our first time live stream guest here, Sam. Do you have anything you want to plug or anything where people can find you, follow you, what you got going on?
You know, I mean, there's the only thing I got going on really is my band, which we haven't released anything for a while, but we're getting ready to start doing, you know, sometime here. We're going to start releasing some more music. So if anyone wants to check that out, we're on Instagram at hues.band, which is HUES, like the colors, .band.
Do you have a link?
Hughes. There is a link, yeah. Let's see. I don't know. I don't have it on hand.
Here, you guys keep talking. I'll find it, John.
That'd be great. That'd be great. So we can let the chat know.
Yeah, we haven't released any albums or anything. It's just been like, singles here and there. We had a release this year in January, and we got several more coming probably later this year. So, we haven't really been doing a whole lot. We've been plugging away in the studio, working for other artists and, writing stuff to sell to Netflix shows and all that kind of good stuff. But, if anyone's interested, it's there.
Nice.
That's
yeah,
cool,
I just
man.
dropped a link in the chat there, so you can
Oh,
find them on Instagram. And
we're on
cool.
Spotify, Apple Music, etc.
So all those links are in the Instagram, though, yeah.
They should be. I think they are.
Yeah, you've got you got a link tree here. So okay, yeah, that's yep. Videos, music, Spotify, Apple Music. Yeah, so go check out their Instagram. They've got a link tree there in the bio. You can find all their other stuff on Spotify and all that cool, fun stuff. So yeah,
And it's going to be
awesome.
good because he can barely promote himself. So he must be so focused on his art that he has trouble promoting.
Oh man. Well, this was I think this is a fun topic. Thank you guys so much for joining in on the panel. Thank you all you guys in the chat. We've still got Dempsey, Thad, Blair to Blair hanging out. So Yeah.
Yeah.
This will
Chat
be,
was awesome, by the way. It's funny how you bring up metal and you bring up music history, and the chat just blows up with suggestions and everything. Great going, guys. Great
Lord,
chat.
we went everywhere from King Diamond to the Osmonds to Spice Girls. I mean, like,
it got weird, and I liked it.
It got weird. You could write a song about that. It's like, it got weird and I liked it.
Wrote a song about it. Like to hear it. Here it goes.
All right. Well, this has been awesome, guys. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for this week's Mixtape Mondays. And we're going to sign off now, and we'll see you next time. Have a good rest of the week, everybody.
Be excellent to each other.